So first I'd like to thank JST for hosting these meetings here for the IDF. I'd like to say that I very much enjoy my visits to Japan. So Crossref, I'm sure everyone here has a pretty good understanding of what Crossref does. And the topic that I was asked to speak on was specifically around DOIs for research data and what does Crossref do in this area. So hopefully we'll explore that a little bit in the next few slides. So Crossref has accepted DOIs for registration for a long time for data. We currently have about a little over 1.1 million DOIs registered for data. But I'd like to describe the difference between research data and other kind of data. Research data, I think you could agree that it's the raw material that is produced during research activities. And this raw material forms the basis on which publication is made. So journal articles and books and conference meetings are the output or the demonstratable published artifact of what the research data contains. There are other data items that get published, and they aren't really the same thing as the raw material of the output of research. And so these other data items are predominantly what you're going to find DOIs in Crossref being assigned to. In the next several slides, I'll show the examples of that. So that's a real important distinction to make about data when we're talking about assigning DOIs to data and Crossref. So this is a very common thing, that the type of data that people assign DOIs to when they're using Crossref. OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They publish in an ongoing way a large quantity of data that has to deal with economic and financial matters around the world, I believe. And if you look at, this is a DOI they've assigned to the total collection of the content that they're publishing under the title called OECD Stat Links. So you can almost think of this as the name of the database. It's really the name of a class of publications within the OECD framework. So if you look below that, they assign DOIs to individual data items. And in this case, the data item is an Excel spreadsheet that contains, I don't read French, I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's a spreadsheet of statistics that has an important bearing on some aspect of the economic and financial data that OECD is covering and producing. So this is their mission, to basically put forward this data. The data itself is the publication. There is no subsequent derived work by OECD. They make this available, and people subscribe to it and use it, and possibly produce research publications further down the road. But the data item itself is a published artifact. So this is what OECD is doing. Here's another example of a database that is offered by a large publisher, in this case De Gruyter, and they've assigned a DOI to the aggregation of this data. And it's available for purchase from De Gruyter. You subscribe to it. The DOI leads you to a landing page, just like it would for a journal. for example. But the data item itself is a collection of information. I'm not sure what the source of this particular data is, but the takeaway here is this is a publisher who has an offering that is data, and they've assigned a DOI to it. So it's a little bit different than assigning DOIs to research data. Another example is the American Psychological Association. They started publishing something that they call PsychNet probably about 5 years ago. This is a collection of a wide variety of data items. There are psychological testing profiles, testing descriptions in this data. I've only browsed it a little bit. Here's an example of an amicus brief, which is a legal document submitted to a court on some topic, and they're publishing this in their PsychNet database. This is one of the items in that database. So, this is quite different than assigning DOIs to individual fields of a database that's raw material of research. But this is very common to what we see being assigned to DOI in Crossref. APA, American Psychological Association, is a large publisher that produces a lot of journals. They publish a large number of journal articles on the topic of psychology, of course, but this is a side product, I suppose you'd call it, that APA offers. Names for Life is an organization whose mission is to resolve ambiguities between nomenclature and biological objects and concepts. What they're doing is assigning DOIs to individual organisms and other things that make up the ecosystem of the planet. And their goal is to give an ID to an accepted and agreed upon taxonomy of names for life. And I think that I'm not quite sure where this is used and in what context, but I can only imagine that its goal is to help researchers have a fixed set of names to use, and an ID, a DOI, a linkable DOI, when they're describing these things in their research. So is this raw material? I guess so. It's kind of a dictionary, if you will, of biological terms, and it's useful. I'm sure it has quite a lot of very important use. But Names for Life publishes individual DOIs for each of these items that they've cataloged. Here is a DOI for a crystal structure being assigned to the parameters and other pieces of data that describe this particular crystalline structure. It's published by the University of Southampton. It's basically just a chemical composition structure. I'm not a chemist either, so I can't really speak to the details of it. But we do see a large number of organizations assigning DOIs to chemical abstract pages, to molecules, and they're assigning these DOIs so that someone can link to the page that describes the specific details of these structures. Again, is this the raw material of research? Maybe not. It wasn't produced as the output of a particular research exercise. And again, it's kind of a dictionary, if you will, of data. And it's being cataloged using the DOI and Crossref. ORNL is the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and they're part of NASA's Earth Observing System Data and Information Systems. And here's a DOI that they've assigned to a particular set of data that I think is geographic-based data on, in this case, the United States. Another example of an organization publishing content that's just a snippet of data in a much larger data set, and that data is made available as a publication on its own right. So hopefully that kind of gives an understanding of the kind of data that Crossref is assigning DOIs to, or should I say the members of Crossref are assigning DOIs to. Data, we have 1.1 million out of the 77 million DOIs that we have. That's a fairly small percentage. It's not growing particularly quickly, and I think it's because what you're seeing here is that people are interested in assigning DOIs. This content doesn't fit into any other categorization very easily. Not a journal, not a book, it's not a reference work. And so in the world of Crossref, they're using data as the classification for assigning these DOIs. I think you'd agree with me that it is data. Certainly people are assigning DOIs to data here. But it's a different animal, it's a different thing than assigning DOIs to the raw data that underpins the research and publications. So that was all I had. Crossref is playing a modest role, I guess I'd say, in the assignment of DOIs to research data. Thank you.